Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. So I think that most of you have been attended our first workshop. So I think that this will be a very good follow-up workshop where our Brianna is ready to prepare all the content. I hope that it will be another fruitful sessions. So I'm very glad that today there's the second sessions on Women Who Code and also Ambitions data series is actually officially kicked off. Next, please. So these are the warrior behind this workshop. So we have today the speaker Brianna, Game, Yvonne, Mavis, and also Wei Xing from Ambition itself. Next, please. And then today, yes, sorry, no, I think that I missed out the facilitator. So you need to go back to the facilitator. Today, the sessions will be slightly different, where we are going to have a breakout sessions, breakout room sessions where it will allow every one of you to have a better practice session. So we are very glad to have Bing Yuan, Chiting, Viwan, Meizi. Let's see the Roy, and Daphne together with us. So I also have my colleague, Sandra, will be doing a quick introductions on ambitions. Sandra, over to you.
Thank you, Soo Young. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a good lunch. So my name is Sandra. I am Senior Consultant for Technology, leading the infrastructure and digital space at Ambition. And a quick introduction about Ambition. We are an Australian recruitment business with offices strategically located at Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Hong Kong, London, Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. We are experts in technology, banking and financial services, finance and accounting, business support, sales and marketing, supply chain and procurement recruitment in Malaysia. We aim to build better futures for all our clients, candidates, and employees by finding the right talent in supporting business growth for clients, matching skills and interests with the candidate's personal career growth, and Ambition also provides the right framework for its employees for a rewarding, fulfilling, and enjoyable career. Moving on, next slide, please. So this is a part of our technology team, and here we have Soo Young, our Director for Technology, Banking and Financial Services. Soo Young also runs the Executive and Technical Search in Ambition Malaysia. Myself, I run the Infrastructure and Digital Space, and we have Charmaine, our specialist and the go-to recruiter for our Digital and Data Space at Ambition. Feel free to scan the barcode and connect with us via LinkedIn, which you can see on your screen, and reach out to us or Charmaine especially if you have any questions about your next career growth. So over to you, Soo Young.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandra. So next one, so today agenda, so we will start in a short while. So later on, we will start directly go into the workshop part 2, where I'll pass the session to Brianna, and then we will end it. Hopefully, we'll end it by 4:20. So if let's say there's any questions, that definitely that feel free to actually join us in Slack. I think the next slide will be showing.
No, next slide is the house.
Okay. Okay, so I think technically those that attended our workshop before, this is a house rule. So me or we do have a big team today supporting the questions, the Q&A session. So if let's say there's anything, feel free to actually reach out to us using chat functions. Okay, so the next one will be on the Slack.
No, we didn't put any Slacks details here, sorry.
Okay. So I think that there's some changes on the slide. So sorry about it. So I think that most of you will not be will know Brianna very, very well, where she's a self-taught data professional and then currently working with Green Packet as a data architect. So SQL is a part of her bread and butter. So she believes that sharing her knowledge and also her competency part of it is actually one of the way for her to make an impact in building capabilities within the data space in the industry.
Okay, I think,
so I think I'll pass the sessions to, feel free to connect to her
you.
on her LinkedIn. So over to you, Brianna.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I guess we are from WWCODE, and this is a collaboration with Ambition on this. So I think in case anyone is new to WWCODE, we are NGO founded in San Francisco back in 2004, and then in KL chapter we are actually founded in 2014, which is a rather new community. So we usually run a lot of tech events. One of it would be data. The upcoming one, we do have a cybersecurity events. We have some cloud talks, and we also have product talks upcoming in August as well. So without further ado, let's start our sessions. So I guess everyone should attended 101 or came across the recording already if you are not familiar with 101 SQL. And I will have to say it again. This SQL workshop is part 2, right? Part 1 recording is available, and this session will be recorded as well. So if you are lost throughout, if you are lost halfway or throughout, or miss one of the part that you forgot to note down, that's fine. You can always read the recording back, right? So don't get panic and just try to follow along. Yeah. And I think in one of the in the emails that Yvonne has sent out, we also mentioned that it would be great if you have pens and paper around you, because this workshop going to have a lot of thinking and designing of query. Since it's part 2, right? So I thought that we should expose you to the queries that usually data analysts would write. It's not as straightforward as the last round anymore. So it would be great if you have your paper and pen around you. If you don't have, then maybe you want to open up some Excel sheet or Word doc in your laptop, so that when you are thinking about when you are designing your queries, you can simply write them down. Yeah. So what are we going to do today is we are going to do some revision, just a quick one from workshop 1. So I'll be going through some of the queries that we have done, some of the things that we have done. And then I will be explaining a bit more on relational database, which I did not touch last round because it will be more relevant this round. Then we will go into doing 2 key tasks, which is joining of multiple tables. Last round, we only did single table query, right? So this round will be joining of multiple tables, which will be slightly complicated, but don't worry, our facilitators will be there to help you to answer any questions. And then the next one will be on the conditional statements. So last round we did on filtering the data, use the where and also the having clause, right? But this round is we are going to showcase different querying output a data where the output will be different based on the condition that we are putting in. Right, this is something that SQL can do as well. So we will be doing some of the tasks on that. And the last one is more on to make your code better and code in a more understandable way, where we will be using some of the techniques like nested query, subquery, temporary tables, views, and another one that I missed out, which is a CTE, which is common table expression. Sorry. Yeah. So I will be going through this, and in between we will have breakout rooms. So today's session we are going to have 6 tasks that every one of us will do it together. And task number 1, number 2, number 3, we will not have breakout rooms because it's slightly too short for that. And then 4, 5, 6, we will break everyone into breakout rooms. So our facilitators will be in the room to help you go designing your query and writing out the query. Once we are back into the main room, I will run through again on the thought process and also the query to get the answer. So that will be the overall flow of it. And I suppose we should be able to wrap up after 1.5 hours or 1.45 minutes. If I'm going too fast, let me know. If I'm going too slow, don't let me know, but don't fall asleep. If you need a toilet break, maybe also can let us know. Yeah, I did not allocate any breaks here because I can go to breaks when you are entering the breakout room. So if you guys need some break, really just let us know. We can allocate some of the bio break for you. Yeah. So during the wrap up, depending how long do we have, I will be covering some of the things that we did not cover in this workshop, what things you can do after this workshop, right? How do you practice? What are the links, some of the resources? And if we really have extra time, I can show you real life cases of assessing SQL. It's not going to be from the website or the tools that we are going to use. Can show you the real tool and how are we assessing it in the maybe 1 to 2 minutes. That will be it for the entire agenda today. So let's go to a quick revision. Switch. I hope you guys are accessing this session material. In here, we put up some of I put up our workshop slides also. I hope you don't fast forward a few slides earlier because a few slides forward because it consists of some of the answers that I want you guys to work on later. Okay, and in here there is actually a cheat sheet that we actually compile the cheat sheet that you will find it useful later. So last round we have done some of the simple query where we select columns from a table, and then from the columns from this column that we are selecting, we also learn how to pick out the distinct values where they will remove all the duplicates. Then also we learn how to actually call out column by column from a certain table. And next is we also learned about filtering the data that we want to see, where we use the statement where, and then we put down the column name that we want to filter we want to put the filter on, and the expression that we want. Yeah, and then for the expression, some of the expressions the common expression that we use, we also have put it out here, and the one that for string is also here. And last round we also go through some of the use case of using any of them. Yeah, the next one is we learn how to use aggregated functions, which is also the most commonly used one, is also being listed down here, where we will be using some of them today as well. So please keep your cheat sheet open today. Then when we have an aggregated function, it always comes with a group by, meaning that we have to group them together. And this group by is always to see how you want to group them. Yeah. Next one is we learned about, this is the extra thing that we learn, is order by, where once we have the data set, we usually want to see the data set in a certain order that we want. We can always put the column name in, which column should we sort it by ascending or descending, right? There are a lot more features there are a lot more functions that we can write with these keywords. The keywords that I say means the one that is highlighted in blue, right? SQL recognize them as keyword. We are not able to cover everything, right, in the workshop, and even when we are going through to some of the online courses, they are not able to cover it. But one of the tips that I can give to everyone is, if you have anything that you want to do, always Google them. Google is our best teacher here. So always Google them, and SQL is a very useful tool. So a lot of people will have some of the write-ups, or even in the Quora also will have the solution for you to read through and just follow the steps that they are given. Yeah, so these are what we have covered in the last round. I won't be going through them today. I hope you guys can remember them. If not, we can always follow the cheat sheet. Now we will be going to the main one where we will be talking about SQL. So another revision, what is SQL? SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is a language that we use to access and manipulate relational database. So I put a note here that SQL can only access relational database. And what is so different about this relational database? So in a database, in a way, is actually storing data in a table form. So we learned last round that in this entry, we call it in the row, we call it the entry or record or tuple. In the columns, it's actually a field or attribute that you want to see. Yeah. And then a relational database is actually a database, relational tables are actually, tables store the data in the form of rows and columns, but each table actually have a unique key to identify a certain object that the table is describing. For example, how do I put this down? Top to the top. So if you, can you all actually see the words down here for the primary key one? Not sure whether this thing block it or not.
Yep, you can see it, the primary key.
Okay, nice. Okay, so if for example, right, for the transaction table, we are actually describing about a transaction. So every transaction that people make, we will record it as one of the row, which is the entry. Yeah. So in this sense, the primary key here, which is the unique key that we use to identify a certain transaction, it would be the transaction ID. So this transaction ID is also being defined as a primary key. So another example is a user table, where by the name of it, it means that we are describing a user, right? Each of the user will come in as an entry, which is a row, right, or record. And the way to identify to identify them in the table, it would be the user ID. Why can't we use name? Can anyone try to answer this?
It's not unique.
Sorry?
It's not unique as user ID.
Correct. It's not unique because people might have the same name across, right? So it may not be unique. That's why we need to have a unique key to identify a certain user, right? And the unique one in here, it would be a user ID. Okay, so this is relational tables where we have unique keys. And then what the relational table can do is we can actually combine them. We can actually find the relationship between tables to tables and combine them to become a huge table to see some of the data. So for example, for this transaction table that we see just now, we actually have a transaction ID, which just means that this ID 1 belongs to these details, which is customer ID 1 and amount 10, meaning that the customer with ID 1 purchased an item with 10 ringgit, right? But we want to know more about this customer ID with this customer, right? We only know that in this table, they are represented as this ID 1. But when we want to know more about that user, that customer, we refer back to the user table. So once we refer back, we have to find the key that is matching between the tables, right? That you can match transaction table to user table. In this sense, it's actually referring to customer ID, match it back to user ID. So we know that for a transaction, this particular transaction ID 1, who made the transaction? It's the customer with ID 1. And if you refer to the user table, the username is actually Ali and the age is actually 30. So this is how we actually combine we join the relational tables by using the keys that we can find in the tables itself, right? So the easiest way to think about it is to find the common columns. Some of the columns usually put in the same name, right? If it's a booking ID, usually booking ID will appear in the different table, and you will see that most likely they are going to be the same one, right? But some of it, they don't use the same column name, but this will be when this thing happen, we will have to use some of the business domains and business knowledge to kind of guess it and kind of join it and test it out whether our hypothesis is correct or not. Yeah. So our data set today will be a relational table also. If you go to the cheat sheet here, you can see a couple of tabs here, right? So there are 4 tabs that the 4 tabs represent 4 tables that we will be playing around today, which the first one is, please go down. The first one is actually attendance, where this attendance table is to show that, okay, sorry, let's go to class first. Okay, so these 4 tables are actually, you can imagine it as a fitness class. Your company is actually a company that offers fitness classes to the members. Yeah, so you will have a relational table called class, and this is the class ID, right? And the class name of it. Class name, you will see that there's already a duplicate, and then you know it's not unique, right? And there will be class dates and the class time. So for each of the fitness class that you have here, everyone can actually sign up, right? So everyone can actually book it, can reserve a slot there. So the reservation, the booking will go under the booking table. If you go to the booking table, you will see a booking ID, membership ID, class ID, and seat number. Seat number means that which slot they actually booked it, right? Because maybe this fitness class, they actually allocate slots. And so you can actually select which slot you want to book a slot at, right? So this is where the reservation will come in, the booking right? So once you booked it, you will have to attend them, right? So attendance wise, you will go into this attendance table where you will have the attendance ID and then the booking ID, meaning that this is reference to which booking you have booked, right? And when did that particular person checked in, right? Check-in means when did they actually go in and booked it. Sorry, I have to correct this thing. Okay, and so what we are seeing here is we always see member ID, right? We don't know who are they. So how do we actually see member ID? We actually see it here in the member table. So member table records all the member ID and also their details, right? Their attributes. Remember, all the columns are actually attributes or field. So these are some of the fields that being captured in our database itself. Yeah. So this will be the data set that we are going to go through today. Has anyone any question about the data set? No? Great. Don't have? Then we will go to the next slide, which is going to be our first task. So I'll be timing ourselves. The task here is to map out the relationship between the tables, the 4 tables that I explained, and identify the common columns between the tables. So I hope you have your pen and paper in around you, right? So map it out, right? Put down the table name and then join it and then point it to the table that you think is related to the particular table. And then also write down the column that you think can join them together. Yeah, 5 minutes. Let's start. Hi, okay. Rachel say, how do we check the primary key in each table? Let me see if I miss anything. Okay. So Rachel, usually in a database, if you are talking about in a database environment, you can actually check it in your the tool that you are using. For example, if you are using my SQL Workbench, if you click on the database tables, they will actually bold the primary key for you. Otherwise, you can go into, I will show you later in the script that we are going to paste it into the feeder website. Yeah, but just map out the relationship first, because then we will go through the details later. Okay, has everyone done it? Oh, and we are going a bit in front, yeah. We are going to map out the relationship first. Okay, let's do it one by one. So has everyone done mapping out the relationship? Just putting out the tables and writing down the columns name that you think can use to join. Nice. Let's do a sense check. Anyone get lost here so far? If you get lost, you can put a sad face, and then maybe facilitators can pay attention, and maybe later on when we go to a breakout room, we can ask about more questions. Okay, no. Nice. Okay, so I'll be showing you the relationship, right? Later on, we will paste it into the cheat sheet for you for the reference later. You will find this very useful because it's very important for us to know the relationship. So this diagram, you will see some of the company will have drew this kind of thing, right? This is called entity relationship diagram. There is a whole brand new module on how do you draw this diagram, but essentially what the function is to show you the relationship of each table. So you can see very clearly that member has a relationship with booking, and the key that join them together is member ID, which I put the line here, right? And then between booking and attendance, there is a relationship, and we can join it by booking, right? And then the class, we can actually join it with booking using class ID, right? It's very straightforward in this scenario. I hope everyone get it. Is there any question on this relationship? It's very important to know it because for the rest of the sessions today, you will need to refer to this relationship a lot. Yes, Joanne, there is software that we can use to map this out. There are professional tool for that, which I actually did not use it. The straightforward one that everyone can use, which is an open source one, you can use either Lucidchart or Draw.io. I threw this on Draw.io, where they actually have a set of things that you can use to map it out, the lines and the columns and etc. Yeah. But there are a lot more different ERD, the professional tools that is specially designed for ERD lah. But Lucidchart and Draw.io is not solely for ERD itself. Okay, Draw.io is free. Do we need to show any specific symbol for displaying the relationship? Okay, so as a start, right, I don't think you need to do until that complicated. There are a lot of ways to design it. If not talking about professionally design an ERD, right? So the one that I'm commenting here is really to make everyone understand the relationship. This is the simplest way that you can do. There are, yes, this is the simplest way that you can do. Just put in out the columns and then join the line with it. The line that you join, you can simply just use an arrow. That's fine. The one that I'm putting in here is actually putting down the relationship, whether it's one to many or everything is one to many as of now lah. But if let's say you don't want to go to that detail, you can just put a line there to let everyone know about the relationship. That would be great already. Yes, and Maisie has put up the another link where you can reverse engineer it using there will be a link there to teach you how to reverse engineer using MySQL Workbench. So MySQL Workbench is the tool that we will be using to access the database. Yeah. Okay, so once we have this, I think our facilitators will help us to paste this thing into the cheat sheet under one of the tab called ERD, where you will be using it to refer for reference later on. Okay, so we will move on to our key topics, where how to do a join. Just now I saw I think if I didn't mistaken, is it in? She has already started to write down the statement, but we are not going there yet. Okay, I will explain about on the theory. So by joining the tables, right, since we already know the relationship, we can always join them. So how to join it? I put down 3 simple steps that can help you to identify and do the joins later on moving forward in the future. Is first to identify the keys, which we have done that in ERD, right? We identify the keys to join already. Then we will need to identify the types of joining. So there are a lot of types of joining. Sorry, there are a lot of like ways you can join the tables together. And these will be the key for one, be these 4. The key for one. There are a lot more out there, but then we will emphasize on the 4 key one. In fact, I will only emphasize on the 2, which is left join and inner join, right? So we have left join, right join, inner join, full join. You can see like a Venn diagram, sounds like a primary school thing that we have learned before, but we have forgotten it. So let's revise it again. So left join, it means that the table, you will left join the column in the table on your left to the right one. So the end table that you are showing here, right, is going to show whatever columns that you have on the left, join it to the right one. So if you see here, you can see that the first row, for transaction table and user table, we are going to join using column ID and user ID. Okay, so when we are joining it, we are using 1, join it to 1, and you will form a huge table like here and under the below here. Sorry, let me just use the laser here. Okay, and the second one is 2. You join it to 2, you will get 1, another one. But there's another, the customer with ID 2 purchase another product, and so you will see another 1 coming out. But in the user ID here, there will be a repetitive of 2 already. Yeah. Next is 4, transaction ID 4 with user ID 23. You can see that in the user table, they actually don't have it. So if you are using left join, what they will do is they will still show the column, the row here, but they will put now under the user table, right? Because you can't join them. Yeah. So this is left join, where you take the whole you take the entire data from the table that you put on your left. And then right join wise is actually the other side, where you take all the data on your right and then join it to the left one. So if you observe the difference between it, right, you can see that 1, 2 will still show the same thing, but the last one, right, they actually show this entry, and then the 4th entry in transaction table will be gone. So it will be shown as a null because you can't join to any entry here. Yeah. So right join is actually taking all the data on the right. Okay. Next is what we call inner join. Inner join is actually the intersection of it. So meaning that we are only taking the one that we can join between the 2 tables. So in this case, it will be just 1 and 2, user 1, user 2, which will end up to be here. You can see that number 4 are both gone. Okay, and then full join is everything, basically everything that we're going to put it in. So means that you will see it's slightly longer, where they will put in the tables on all the data on the left and all the data on the right, and you will end up to be this whole huge table. Yeah. So for this, right, you can see actually I put out different name. One is full join, one is outer join. So I have to make a note to you, or saying that all the database, they have different syntax or even different functionality for the 4 joins that I'm talking about, right? Usually for left and right and inner join, it will be quite straightforward. For full join and outer join, different database have different syntax of it, or some of the database don't even support full join or outer join. Yeah. So before you maybe when you are going through some other database later on, we are using MySQL 8.0 today, but if you are dealing with other databases in the future and you receive some of the error message saying that you have an error message, you have an syntax error, check the manual, etc., right? Don't get panic. And even though if you check a lot of times and it's still right, maybe it's just because they did not support that functionality. So all you can do just is, like I said earlier, Google it and see whether they support it or not. Usually the Google will tell you, they will show you a manual about the database and they will tell you whether they support it or not. Yeah. So today I'll be emphasize a lot on the left join and inner join because that's what we always use. Full join, outer join, we really rarely use, and it actually takes up a lot of memory processing power because you are actually combining all the tables, all the rows in each of the tables. So imagine each of it got 50,000 and then the other one got like 100,000. It is going to cost a lot of processing power to process the data out. So full join, we rarely use it, and right join, usually we don't use it as well because when it comes to the syntax later, you will know why it's not that we don't really use the right one, right? See a lot of things. Is there any questions? Oh, wait, too long. Okay, I think has it been answered? Why would one use user ID on one column and user ID on another one when they are the same? Okay, Sarah, to answer you on this thing, right? This is the naming convention that will be designed later on in the database table design. So the reason why we are using user ID in one table is because you are describing the table is meant to describe about transactions, right? So the people who buy the transaction is called customer. So to make the table more relevant, they will name it as customer ID. But some people, they will still use it as user ID lah, to make it standardized, right? And the other one, the user table, it can be a compilation of everything, not just user that can buy things, right? It can be user that can use our app. Say if your business is growing a lot and you have a different functionality in terms of the your business that can do, right? Then it means that the customer may not be relevant, right? It depends on how you want to see it. A more realistic example is, let's say I have an app where they are customer that is joining our app, they are merchants that is joining our app as well. But in the database, I want to merge two of the piece of data, like a login details, into call a login table. So I cannot call the table name as the column name as customer ID because there will be merchant in that there. So I cannot call it merchant because there will be customer there. So I call it user as a generic one, but you would know that this user ID is actually being mapped towards either customer or the merchant one. Right. And Rachel, so I can decide on which to be on the left table is not like by the design, right? Correct. Rachel, you're right. That's the reason why we rarely use right as well, like what Mizzy said. Are you able to join the now data tool? What does it mean by this question? Now data. So let's say you have a now ID here, right? You are saying if you have a now ID here, which this is a system error because if you are, this is your primary key, you shouldn't have now lah. But if let's say there's a now ID here, and then you somehow also have a now ID here, right? They will identify them as the same one, and then they will join them together. But this is very risky because you might have multiple now ID here, which will lead you to joining the wrong row lah. Inner join shows that are present, right? If not, won't show like correct. You are right, Nabila. So for inner join, they will return the common rows. Yes, like what Bing said. They will return the common row, which is the intersection of it. So they will only show the ones that have the value that can be matched across two tables. Okay. Any other question before I moved on? Thanks, Faci, for helping me to answer the questions. Okay, moved on. Okay, then the third one, once we have identified the join, right, we will then start writing the join statement. Okay, so I will be introducing the join statement here, which this is how we usually write a join statement, where we will always use select, we will always have a from. Then when we join to another table, we always use it after we select something from something. This will be considered as your left table already if we are selecting left join. So this is your left, on your left. Yeah, remember. So left join some table, right table, but usually the table you can put the alias there so that when you are the on here is where you write the key that you want to join with, right? So this is how we write a join statement. You can see in your cheat sheet. So let's start practicing it. So I did put out a slide before we join whereby you will have to go to your session material here, download this copy table SQL_102, open it up using Notepad or open it up using your text pad, or I actually have participants telling me that once they preview it, they are able to see the content inside. That's fine too. So open it up, copy everything, right? Select all, copy everything. Go to the website that we are going to use today, which is db-feeder.com. Okay, here, and you can see the setup this is actually empty lah. All these are actually empty. Okay, let me just remove everything. Okay, it's going to be like that, right? And you will see that the database here is actually SQL V version 5.7. Today we are going to do version 8.0. So make sure you change it, right, to version 8.0. Then once you copy the context here, paste it in the schema SQL. So this is where we are going to build the table, right? We have 4 tables and the entry is here, which will result in these 4 tabs of your table. Okay, once you have this here, I will run through one of the sample. Yeah, so I think one of the participants, I think it's Rachel, right? You are asking how can we identify the primary key. So in the database tables, you can actually, when they set up the database and if they set it up correctly, they will notify the primary key, right? So in every table, you would know that the primary key is referring to which column already in here. And inside the MySQL Workbench, if you are using that tool, you will be able to see the table being highlighted as being bold after you select the table, right? I will be showing you later on that portion, but this is how you can see it. The other way is in your EDRD that you are mapping, you can actually bold them. Then people will know that this is actually a primary key, right? So there are a lot of ways of presenting it. And this is just an example of how do we create the table. We have learned it earlier on, and how do we insert the values, right? Once you have it, let's try it out by just selecting from some tables, and then you click run, right, as a warm-up, right? Time to put in warm-up. Then you will be seeing that, okay, all the tables are in, the tables are running well. Okay, so let's try using the join function. Okay, if you refer to the ERD here, let's join booking with attendance. Okay, I want to join my booking table to attendance. So I'll be select something, everything, I'll pick everything first from booking, and then I will left join, right? Left join something. So what are the tables that we want to left join? The tables that we want to left join is attendance. Okay, once we select the table name that we want to join, then we will put it on. On means we have to state the key. So if we want to state the key, we can put booking.booking_ID, which is the ID of the booking here. And then another one is attendance. And we know that attendance is actually being mapped to booking ID as well. So it would be .booking ID. So if you run that query, okay, okay, you can see the tables are being joined, right? And if you scroll to some of the, okay, once you join it, you can see that the booking ID is actually running, right? And I want to sort it. Remember, how do we sort it? Anyone? How do I create the, okay, sorry. Rachel, how do I run the the table didn't show up at the bottom. Okay, so Rachel, you have to, when you run it, right, without typing anything here, they won't show anything. You have to type something on your query SQL. Yeah. And then, yes, you are right, it's order by. I hope you are following, Rachel. If not, Faci, please help. Okay, so it's by order by. So you will put order by what? By booking ID, right? So you will put booking ID here. Then let's go with ascending. Okay, and then you will run. So when you run, right, you can see that I actually did not go there and click here, run. You can actually use Control Enter, then they will run it. Okay, and when you type this, you can see the error message. Yeah, the error message called column booking ID in order clause is ambiguous. Can anyone try to guess? So for coding 101, right, is when you are learning coding, the very important thing is to learn how to troubleshoot your error message. So by this, right, can anyone try to guess what does it mean? Correct, Vivian, you're right. So it's because there are two columns of the same name in the result, meaning that if you see the ERD that we are looking at, they are actually booking, they has a booking ID, the attendance has a booking ID as well. So for database, right, they wouldn't know which column should we sort it with, right? So we will need to specify which table, which booking ID are we taking from. So we have to, in this case, I will take booking. So it's booking ID.
I have a question, Brianna. Is
Yes,
it okay
hi.
if we do, is that the purpose we do the alias? So then if the order by can just use the alias name?
Yes, you are right. So the other way is you can put an alias where booking B, attendance A, and then in here you can change it to just B, and in here you change it to A, and then you can put a B here. It will go the same, and then control enter. It will lead you to the answer where you can
Thank you.
see. Yes, thanks. So you will see that in here by left join, right, you will see booking ID number 2, the attendance, this is the attendance one because you are left join it, so the attendance one will show behind. So the attendance is now. What does this mean? Why is it now at the attendance but booking has something? Good one, correct. They ponteng. They didn't go. They didn't attend the sessions. Yes, this is how we actually look at the table, right? So that means that they did not attend the sessions. They booked it, they reserved a slot, but they did not go, right? So you will see things with now, it's actually they didn't go, right? So if let's say I just want to show the booking ID that the members actually attended, right? So there are a few ways of doing it, but the easiest way without amending too much on our code here is to use, guess what kind of join that we should be using here? We want to
Join.
correct inner join.
Right.
So if you use inner join, you can see that everything, they don't have a now here lah, meaning that we are only taking the booking ID that the participant where the participant has attended. Okay, so this is how we usually write a join statement. Yeah. Okay, since it looks like everyone is following, any question? Let me see. Left join meaning we can see the now. Yes, if you refer to cheat sheet, right? IFA, basic here, you can see that the left join here, right, is actually taking all the table on the left. So when we are looking at this booking table, we are actually taking the entire booking table and then we left join it to attendance. But the attendance one is we are only capturing the members that attended the sessions, right? So they book it, they may not attend. So when they book it already, but they did not attend it, then they will show it as now because we cannot find data inside there, right? If let's say we are taking inner, and if you refer to this cheat sheet here, inner join, we are only taking the intersect, meaning that it's actually the one that booked it and attended to it. So you will see that there's no now values here lah. Random questions, what does schema refer to? Very good one. So schema usually refer to table. If I didn't mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. It actually means table for schema. So in a database, you can have multiple schema, whereby in here I have 4 schemas lah. I have attendance, I have booking, members, and class. What about right join? Right, if our right join is the reverse one. So let's say I don't want to confuse around further, but then to answer your question, right? If I right join here, meaning that we are taking attendance table and then we write join to the booking, which means that we are taking everything in this table, we left join it to the booking. Do you think that one? I think Eva, you can help me to answer that. Do you think you will see any now on the booking ID or any now on the attendance?
I think you won't see null because you will see whoever booking.
Correct. You won't see any now because in a way, right, in this scenario, only in this scenario, attendance is actually like a subset of booking, because you can only book to attend, right? You have to book it, then only you can attend. But the people that attend cannot be more than the booking one. So if you write join attendance to booking, yes, you won't get any now. It actually function as the inner join, if you notice, right? Because you are taking a subset of it, right? But then we won't encourage you to do it like that, because if for code reusability purpose and don't confuse yourself, we always just stick with right join. And if you want to take a subset, just use inner join.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with our first session. The first question, since I think everyone is following, I won't be doing this together with you. Try and answer this. I will lock it as 5 minutes. After that, then we will do it together. Okay. In reality, okay, Rachel say in reality, when you access relational table, will you be able to look at the schema SQL? Like, okay, so I think if we have time at the end of the day, I will show you how in reality will work, right? I have gotten my DViewer open up. I will show you later, Rachel. Maybe, yeah. Should I mute myself? Oh, sorry. If you are lost, try using back the three things that we always talk about, right? So identify the keys. Firstly, you have to identify the tables to join, right? Then identify the keys, and then putting down the values that you want. Start querying. Okay, should we do it together? Anyone has gotten your answer, or anyone has not? Has anyone got any error message? Right, okay, let's do it. Okay, we go to here. The question is asking about the total number of members who reserve. Reserve means booking a slot, right? For hit by Sherry on this date and this time. So we know that the reserve one, usually for the anything going to reservation, we know that it's actually falling under we put a from first, right? Falling under booking table, right? We know that. Then if we just look at booking table, right? We see what happened in the booking table. You will see that, okay, I can see the booking table here, but I only have class ID. So means that if I want to know the details of the class, the details of a class, which is all these details, we have to go to the class table, right? And if we want to go to the class table, we will have to refer it to use, there are some filtration that we need to use because we only want to get out for a particular table, right? The class. So when we join this, we can have a different types of join. In here, I'll be using inner join, okay? So when we do the inner join from inner join class, we will have to join it on something that we know, which is what is the keys that we identified to use the join, right? If you refer it to the ERD, it's actually the class ID. Okay, so once you join, if you look at it, right, if you inner join this thing, you will see that, okay, you have all the bookings details and you have the class name, class date, class ID already. Then that's when you can start to do the filtration that you want, right? So filtering out what we want. What do we want? We want this, we want the date, and we want the time to be this. So, sorry. Looking back here, we will use, remember how do we do a filter? We use the where. So where class name equals to, which one do I want? I want hit by Sherry. And the class date is this date, which date we want? We want 2020. But because I see the format, right, of the date is actually following year, month, date, I'll follow it. And the class time is equals to 10, what time? 10. Okay, if you query this, you will be able to see they actually have filtered out the booking that book the class that we want. Yeah. So in this sense, we can start to do our aggregation that we want, which is the total number of members. So in this sense, how do we count the total number of members? Sorry, I said the answer already. Count. So it's count what? So we want members. So we will count the one in booking table, the members. And you will get the numbers 3, right? So let me see. Okay, Ankita, yours is Ankita. Anyone get the answer? Anyone did not get the answer? Anne, do you mind pasting out your code? Then I can have a look for you. This is the one. Okay, I see a lot of people, they actually use the class ID equals to 2, right? So if let's say I know you guys actually go into the class ID and then look for the same, the one that is having the details, and then you put the class ID equals to 2, right? That's the cheating way, but you can do it. But if you are doing that, right, basically you don't need to join anymore, right? You can straight away just put by booking and then where class ID equals to 2, right? But in the event whereby the data gets too huge, right, you won't be able to get it. So that would be the hint that I can give. For N1, you are putting it, booking, inner join attendance, and you are getting 17, etc. Right? The first one is you don't need attendance. We are only taking the table that we need, remember? So in here, you know that reservations is under booking and the class details is under class. So we are only joining 2 tables in this case. If you are joining booking, inner join with attendance, right, you are missing out some of the bookings where the participant actually did not join already in that sense, right? So if you inner join with class and this, and you want to group it by, if you group it by, yeah, the booking one wouldn't be in the picture lah. I don't think you need. Why would you want to put an order? And also another detail is the reason why you are getting 18, right, is because your data filter is date class equals to hit by Sherry. But if you see in the class, right, here, yeah. You can see that actually hit by Sherry has 3 classes in different time and different date. So the filter is not complete there. That's why you are getting 18. Yep. Okay. So Nick Fong, you use left join. Yes, left join will do the work as well because, thanks for the code. If you do left join, essentially you are taking the booking, you left join it to the class, and then you filter it out again. So it will be the same as you take the booking, you inner join the class. It's the same. Because all the class will show up in the booking. If you don't have the class here, you won't be able to book the class. So essentially booking is another, I would say, I won't call it subset, but it's the parent table is the class, then the relationship goes that way. Yeah. Okay, and then yes, the other one is to comment this out. The previous website that we used, we don't have that feature, but then here the feature is control \, yes, which is the one next to your shift, right? Then you will be able to comment it out. So throughout the sessions, right, I would advise all of you to comment your code out because you may want to reuse it later before I introduce the common table expressions and also some other functionality that's able that will let you save the code, right? So comment it out, and then we will move on to the next question if there's no other question. Is there any question from the floor?
Brianna, how did you do the comment out just now? Control /?
Control \, is it slash or backslash? Control \,
Oh, control
which
back.
is the one that next to your shift.
Okay, thank you.
Do we always have to check the date? Joe, you asked, do we have to always check the date and time format in the raw data before writing the query? Good questions. So in the real life example, let me check my date first, sorry. In the real life example, right, we will actually define the class date as the date time, where it's actually recognized as date time. Once you recognize it as date time, I suppose you don't have to always check it because the SQL can convert it themselves. But my advice is always follow the format that they have, in case SQL interpreted it in the wrong way, right? Because there are a lot of different ways of interpreting the date itself. But Faisy, if you have any other comments, feel free to comment on that portion as well. On top of that, for this particular exercise itself, I actually set the class date as string. That's why you see when I'm calling out the class date, I actually put in the string, right? In the real life also, if you are calling out the date, you will still have to put it in a string as well, because if you put it like that, I suppose the SQL won't recognize it. Okay, Nick, you are right. If the purpose of it is to get the subset out of it, to get the intercept, it would be better to use inner join than left join. You're right. Okay, moved on. Then since we have already joined two tables in this context, right? Now we are moving on to the next task, which I put a bit more time here, 10 minutes to write a query to show that to show a list of members, right? A list of members who attended, yeah, meaning they actually booked it and attended, right? Attended the same class that we play along just now. So 10 minutes, start. Okay, Rachel asks is for the on one, does the order of the table matters? So if let's say Rachel, the Bingen has answered it, but I think I will let everyone know. So for this on statement here, right? If you write, it actually doesn't matter if you write the B1, the class one in the front, and then the B1, the booking one at the back. It doesn't matter. It will still work. So long as, yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay, how's everyone doing? Should we go through it together? Let's go through this together. Okay. Okay. Anyone got the answer? Who got the member list? Okay, let's do it together. Okay. Okay, we know that we want to have the one that is attending, and then if you refer to the ERD, attendance actually can be linked to booking. And then if you want to know about the class features, you have to link it back to here, the class one, right? And so to do this, we will have to use back the link, the thingy that we have here. Uncomment it is the same as how you comment it out, which is the control \. Okay, so we will remove this for now, right? We already have booking joined to the to class C, where we get the details out already. The booking is here, but we want to have the attendance one, right? So we know that to booking and to attendance is actually an inner join, right? Because we want to take the one that attended. Okay, attended on attendance on what? B dot refer to the ERD is booking ID. The booking ID equals to attendance booking ID. And then we want the member list. So I only want the member. But if you want to check, you can check it. Okay. Okay, if you check, you can see these are the list of the members that actually attended the classes that we want, right? We already got the answer, but we only want the member list. So if you want the member list, we can just put select member ID. Okay. Let's just say, does anyone follow? Okay. Let's just say I don't want to see the member IDs. I want to see the member name itself, right? So to do this, we can actually, again, left join or inner join in this case, member M on something, on what? It can be, who has the member ID? Booking has the member ID. So booking dot member ID equals to M dot member ID, right? And then I actually want the member. So M dot member name meaning that I'm taking the member name from M table, right? It's good to have a table name dot alias so that you know that which table is it coming from. Then you will see 3 answer. Jess, Stephanie, Leo. Questions? For those who pasted your code, does your code has any issue that we should look into, or you are getting the same answer? Sorry, I don't think we'll be able to go through code by code. So if let's say your code has any issue or not showing the same answer, you can flag it out and then we can help you to look at the code. Okay, health check. Is everyone doing good? No? Questions? Confused? Not going to proceed if and no one reply me. So far so good, right? So far so good. Any question that you guys might have? No? Okay. Okay, if no, then I'll be moving on, yeah. Okay, the next one that we are going to tap on is the case, the conditional statement, yeah. So for this purpose, the condition is when we are doing, I'll straight away show the syntax. I'm not explaining a lot on this thing, right? Because the syntax is actually very straightforward. So let's say, for example, I'll use the example in the table. For this member, right? I can see that the member ID is like that, and then the name is like that, and the age is like that, and the gender is actually F and M. And maybe in the report that I show, I don't want to show F, I don't want to show M, I want to show the full sentence, which is female and male, right? But I'm not going to filter out the data. I just want to show it in different way only, right? So in that sense, right, we can actually use this syntax, this function called case statement. So case is like, if you learn coding before, it's like a if else statement, right? So case is if, right? If, when, condition. What is the condition that you are putting in, right? It can be the scenario, the condition. We will write one together later. Then after that is the result, right? What do you want the output to be? Is the output that you want to do. So if you have a lot of condition, you have a lot of scenarios that you want to put in, you can just put the criteria here, right? Case when, then, list down as many as you want. That's fine. And just remember, condition is where you put the criteria. Result is where you want the output to be, right? Else is like if you do a coding if else, right? Else is like if nothing match, right? If the data doesn't match the condition above, what do you want them to output, right? Is the output. Then every case statement should have an end here to let them know that the condition ends here. As liar's name, as means that the liar's name that you want to put, you have to put as something. If you don't want to put as, the liar's name has to be there. You have to put the liar's name to this statement. Okay, so let's take an, okay, this is an example of it. Sorry, yeah. So example would be some of the things, remember, like the last round, like I have a transaction table, and then some people ask me, can I just group them together, right? I want to group e-wallet, the one that has been shown as GrabPay, ShopeePay, Boost, Touch and Go. I want to just classify all of them as e-wallet, meaning my output table will only show one value called e-wallet. There won't be GrabPay, ShopeePay, Boost, and Touch and Go. So what I can do is I can use a case statement where select statement will still exist here with from which table. This is the standard way that we write a query, right? Then we put down the case statement here where we start with case when something in something. This is like how we write the condition, like how we write the where statement, right? It's the condition that we are writing in. Then the output of it, which I output it as a e-wallet. Else I will just output the normal name of the payment type and S, and then I want the column name to be payment type, right? This is an example. We will use an example in our database. Let me see if I can question. Okay. If I have the, currently, if we refer to the member table, I want to output the member ID, for example, and the gender, but the gender, I want to change the name of it, meaning that if it's F, I want to output female. If it's M, I want to output male, right? So in that case, I will be doing, okay, comment out. Delete. Select something from something. Select something from member, okay? Member. And then I want, what do I want to output? I want member ID and I want the gender. Let's just do it simple, yeah? So I want member ID and I want the gender, but the gender I want to make some tweaks about it, right? So I will use case, then I'll put when, right? When I will put gender, the where statement, right? Gender equals to M, then follow the syntax, then what is the output? I want to output it as male, right? When, when gender equals to F, we do female, okay? Then we end as, I can put the same name, I can put different name also, right? Look, you can put like that, so that we can check the, oh, message. Okay, you can see that they are able to output it based on the condition that we have put in, which is this one, right? So this is how we use a case condition. a case statement. Okay, let's just say another example. I'll give another example. Yeah. So the example here is I want to have a grouping, right, for our participants or for our members here. Meaning that maybe I want to group 20 to 25 and then 26 to 30, right? I will split the members into two groups. So I want to have a column which lists down the grouping of it, right? So how can I do this? I will still use the same places, same table, which is member. And then to group it by age, I have to look at the age group, which is the member age, right? So I will still pick it and I'll keep all these things, right? I'll get the member age to verify. And then I'll make a case statement again, right? A case statement when, how do I do this? I want to group the member age between, if their age is between 20 to 25, I will output the number as 20 to 25, right? So when member age, there are a lot of ways of doing it. I can put between, right? Remember in our cheat sheet, there's this between, right? For here, between for the math expressions, between 20 and 25, then I output something, right? I output group 20 to 25. When, sorry, let me recap. When member age equals to between 26 to 30, then I'll group them as 26 to 30, right? Then I will need to end as age group. Then you will be able to see, right? You see that this person actually fall under this age group, right? This is the one, and then you see that this now, because we did not define it, right? Or you can just put that, in that case, we can put else, right? Remember the else means that if all above did not meet, what do we output? We output it others. Or we can output it as elderly, right? Right, up to you. Just a joke. Don't get offended, please. Okay, you can put it on others, right? So that's how we can use a case statement. Okay, there are a lot of ways of doing it also, by including a lot of calculation, whatever. But this is the simplest way to do it. Questions? Okay, Nick asked a good question. What if I don't want to join attendance table? Got any performance cost if I join more table? If you in the task earlier on, the task 3, right, you will have to join the attendance table because you need to get the number out, right? But yes, by joining more table, you have a performance. It might have performance might not be good because you're joining a lot of tables, especially if you're using auto join or full join, that would be even worse, right? So but if you need to, you need to lah, right? But in later on, I'll be going through how are you going to save the query, or like you form a huge table, like a temporary table for your usage. Joe asked a question. Yes, you can actually use a subset of columns. I will be covering that later on also from is by using subquery. Thanks, Joe. So I remember yes, Yummy, your gender there need to have a comma. So let me paste Yummy's code here. Yep. Any other questions? No? Okay, no. Breakout room session. Okay, this next one is we will be utilizing case statement, right? You will be writing out a case statement where you will have to output a field, meaning you as a new column. Remember, if you are using the new column name should be is at like this, right? So means that your case statement will be having an as something, right? Something has to be is at, right? And sorry, where's the slide? Okay. And to indicate whether members is late to class. Okay, I won't tell you how to define this. I will need you to define yourself. So the task is 15 minutes. We will break you into breakout rooms. There will be facilitators there. If you have any question, really use this time to use this time to ask facilitators the questions, because the group is getting smaller, and if they're shy, you can ask them, right? Any questions, right? The one happening before, the one that is related, not related to this task, but is something that you have to clear it out before you do this task also can. You have to clear it out to make sure you understand the previous task also can. Okay, use this chance to get facilitators help. 15 minutes. Maybe can you help to assign them to the room?
Okay, I'll start assigning them to the room now.
Yeah, so you will be going to the room right now. Have fun. I'll see you guys after 15 minutes. Maybe I think you have to tick the column where auto assign them to the Oh, you tick already.
Yeah, I tick already. I think it's
The
slow.
connection. Yeah,
It's the connection slow, so it's things going up.
yeah, I think it's quite slow. Let's pause the thing. Should we pause the recording?
Yeah. Wait, right? Everyone is coming back, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, am I not? I was talking to you just now, maybe. And I didn't know that I was.
Okay. Okay.
This is task what? Number 4. Okay. Has everyone gone back into the, is everyone back?
Yeah. Wait, let me check.
Check and see.
Yeah, I can see everyone back. Yeah, I think all back already.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, let's do this together. I hope everything is clear for you. So we will run through the thought process again. Say, write a query to output a field for each attendance, right? Is late, which indicates members is late to the class. Yeah. So we want to show member ID, check-in times, class start time, and is late. So what is the definition that a member is late? Can anyone try to answer this? Check. What is the definition of a member is late? Yes, Nabila. Check-in time is later than the class time. So that would mean the condition, we will just put down the condition here. Check-in time is later than the class time. Okay, we know that there are two things that we need to see already. Check-in time is later. Later means it's greater, right? Meaning you come late to the class, then the class start time, so you are late, right? So this is the expression that we are going to write. Okay, so we know that there are two things that we need to look at: check-in time and class time. Where can we find check-in time? If you refer back to the tab, check-in time is actually under attendance. And if you see you want to look at the class time, it's actually under the class, like class table. But if you look at the ERD, there's no direct connection between attendance and class. You can only go through the common one, which is booking, right? So when we are doing the join, as usual, select something from something, we can start from attendance, right? It depends on how you want to start, right? Which table you want to start first. But once you know the table, you have to kind of map out the different types of join already. Remember, identify the keys, table, identify the keys, identify the type, right? So I know that the attendance is the key table that I want to go with, so I will use attendance as one. Then I want to join it to booking using booking ID. So in this case, I will use inner join. Okay. Okay. Booking, yeah. Then after that, I want to do another join because that's what we are only halfway there, right? We want to go here. So I want to join again. So booking has to join it with class. So we have to join with booking. And in this case, I'll use left join, right? Because I want left join booking here. So left join with class on what? So on is very important here because previously we always use the first table that we are always referring to. Now we are using the second table. So you have to code the alias, right? B on what? Class ID. Class ID equals to class dot. Okay, so if we test this thing out, right, let's just look at the result. Okay, you can see that you already got what you want, right? You want check-in time, you want class time. It's already happening in here. You have the class time here, you have the check-in time here. So instead of using that many columns, we need to modify the column here, right? We want to just show member ID, check-in time, start time, and is late, right? So we have member ID. Where can we get the member ID? It's booking here. Member ID is under booking, right? It's under booking table. So we will use the alias of booking table. I will get the member ID. And then you have another one, which is class check-in time. Check-in time is attendance, right? Check-in time. And then I will have another one, which is the class start time. Class start time belongs to C, right? Which is a class time. Okay. And then we will need to have an is late, right? Is late is actually, we have to indicate 0 if it's not late, 1 is late, right? Then in that case, we will need to use a case statement. So as usual, when we do the case statement, we will use case when. Then we put down the statement, right? The statement would be check-in time greater than class time. Then we put, and class time is late means 1. Else, we can just put 0, right? Else means that it's not. Or if you want to be more specific, then you can write down another one, which is the other way. But then you can just put else because it's a binary, right? Then you can end as is late. Oh, show me the error because
try putting apostrophe.
There is a comma before from.
oh yes, you're right, thanks. Yep, so this is where we are getting the result. Okay, it's very straightforward, right? I know. Any questions? Actually, it could be very confusing at times because there are a lot of join, right? No question? Okay, I'll show you different way of answering these questions, this task, right? Where it will involve of different methods of how we can do this kind of joining and all. Yeah. So they are this thing called subquery, where I think Joe, you did ask about how can we just take a certain records, right? So let's say, for example, I am not let's say for example, I'm going to just take this and I'm going to paste it out and take it, right? And then you notice that we don't want to have like so many, it's like a lot of, when we do the check, right? It's just a lot of columns to take. And if let's say your table is huge, right, you have like over 20 columns, but you're only using a few of them, you may want to save your processing power by just selecting a few columns, right? So what we can do here is we can actually do a subquery where usually I will recommend you to use bracket, right? Then you will do a select statement here, where you only pick the table, the column that you want to see from booking, right? Let's say, for example, in the booking table, you don't want to see, you actually don't need to see booking ID. You don't need to see anything actually, right? But you maybe you need booking ID. So we will put booking ID here, right? From a booking. Then when you close it, right? For every sub query that you do, you need to have alias. That's what's going to happen. You need to have it. Then you left join it with something, right? You need to have a booking ID because you have to use that to join the table that you want, right? And then from C part, actually, you don't need so many of them, right? You probably just need class ID to do the join, and you will need the class time only. That will be it, right? So what you can do here is to do a select statement from class, okay? Putting in the column name that you want to pick respectively. So this is the class ID and class time, right? Unknown B. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you see the error message. Unknown column B dot class ID. Just now we don't have that issue. Now we have that issue. Why? Anyone want to attempt? Why is it they say unknown column, meaning the SQL can't recognize under B there is this thing called class ID? The reason is because we are
Because there
actually,
is no class ID.
sorry?
In the inner query, there is no class ID for booking.
Correct. There's no class ID because we have already defined this as a B, right? If you see line 47, we have actually defined line 47 as B, right? Meaning that this subquery, that the table that we're taking out, right? We only have a column called booking ID. We don't have a class ID. So we have to put in the class ID here so that they would know that the B dot class ID, they can find it here. And yes, here we are. You can see the result here that is showing just the table that you want. Right? From the same thing, you can actually work out the same. It will be the same thing. Now. Okay, fine. Okay. No member ID. Okay, another one. Member ID. They need member ID. Okay, so this will cause the same result. Why I say this is quite useful, right, is I'll show you in another task. Remember for this task, where we show task number 2, right? We show total number of members who reserve a slot for this entire thing, right? There is another way that we can write it called subquery, where I can actually write, I don't need to use join statement, right? I can select something. I know that the booking one is actually, the reservation is from booking, right? It's from booking. And then I know I want to count member ID. Right? I can use a where statement whereby, because I know I just want to get the class ID out, right? But instead of I straight away put 2 by cheating and go inside there and find the class ID, I can do it here. Meaning that I can do select something from class where I put the filter class name equals to hit by tertiary and class date equals to I can simply just put like that, meaning that where the class ID is in, I will select just the class ID, right? From class table where these are the conditions that I want. And then I do the count from there. That should give me the same result, which is 3, right? The interpretation of this is when you are selecting, you are filtering out the first query, the subquery here, the inner one, you're actually filtering out the class based on the criteria that you want and get the class ID out. And once they have the class ID, they can actually replace it with the number that they have in here, and you are able to filter it accordingly. That's what we call a class, a subquery. A subquery is, I usually will always do it when I put a where statement, and I'm lazy to do a lot of join, right? Because this thing actually you can join booking with class, it will lead to the same answer. But for optimization purposes, usually people will not encourage you to do this if, let's say, you are not using the equal, you're actually using in, right? There are a lot of scenarios where you will need to use in, meaning that I want a list of class and I want to count that member just for a certain class, right? In that sense, right, the optimization, according to the tips, the optimization say that this will be less effective than you use join, meaning the one that we did earlier on, right? But because today the data set is very small, so you won't see the difference in that. And I would say if you are a beginner, just write the code, and so long it works, go with it. And if it doesn't work, only we will sort it out. Yeah, we will go to the optimization later on as we become more advanced. Okay, so this is one of it called subquery, which is the one that I'm covering, right? So there are 3 more things that I will cover today, which is how you can actually save the data set that you actually output as for future purpose. Okay, so one of it is called CTE, Common Table Expression, or we call it temporary result set. I remember in SQL 101, someone actually asked me if I can save temporary results, and I said that actually you require create tables and etc. It's not exactly right. That's my mistake, because there's this thing called common table expression, and the one that I was talking about is temporary tables, and there's something called view as well. So I'll give everyone a high level on how to differentiate all these 3 things. Yeah. So then we will go into the execution part of it and also more details on each of the column. Okay, so for CTE, right, the differences between these 3 is CTE will only available during the execution time, meaning when you are writing out the code here, you have to code it out in this portion, then you will be able to use it at the bottom. It's extremely useful if you have a very complicated query to run, and then you will need a common table to run. For example, right, in the earlier stage, we keep joining the tables, right? You keep joining booking, left join class, and left join inner join attendance, etc., right? You can actually sum it out to make it a CTE. Then you can keep using the table only. You don't need to keep copy and paste the code around, right? Later on, if we have time, we can show some of the example of how the script can be done. Yeah. The second one is view, right? View is actually a temporary data set where they will store it in your database, right? They will store it as long as you don't delete it. You don't delete the view. The special thing about this view is actually being used to replace CTE. Sorry. Why is it that we need to replace CTE? Is because not all the database support CTE. Take MySQL as an example. If you change to later on when we write the CTE expression, right, we will switch. You can switch around this MySQL. MySQL 5.7, they don't support CTE at all. So once if you run it right with the right code, they will still tell you that you have error, you have syntax error, because they cannot recognize it, right? But 8.0, they already support CTE. So some of the database they don't support CTE, and how they do it is they actually replace it with view or temporary tables. It works the same where you can store your temporary data set and work on it, right? So view is where you store the data set into the database, but this view is permanent until you delete it. That's what we call view, right? things that is different from CTE is you need to have create view access. So in reality, when you are going into accessing a database, the database administrator actually have a set of permission that they can give it to you based on your account, right? Your username. So if they don't give you a create view access, you won't be able to create a view. So it means that you won't be able to use this functionality. And if they give it to you, then yes, you can. Same goes to temporary tables, where these temporary tables is just temporary for that particular session. Meaning that if you close your tool already, for example, MySQL Workbench, you close it, you open it up again, right? Your temporary tables will be gone. You have to rerun the script to save that temporary data set into your database. That's the temporary tables. And same goes to view, you need the permission to do it in the database in reality. But then in current one, you can actually do it, they give you all the access back. Okay. And then when to use it, right? They are some of the common practice that people actually recommend us. Firstly is CTE actually use it for ad hoc queries. Ad hoc meaning that suddenly someone asks you to do some queries and then you want to make sure your code is readable and it's easy to troubleshoot. You will use it as you will use CTE at that point of time. And then view is you will use it when you frequently need to reference it, right? And this view, the special thing is they actually store it as queries. If you see this, they store in the database as queries meaning the script that you write here. So what if you use create view access, you create a view, they actually save it as queries. What is so different about this, right, is when the database data change, your view will change. But the view result will change. When you select all from the view, then you see, then it will, the data set will change according to your database. But the temporary table, no, they store the data set itself. So at that point of time, when you run the data, you save the data, right? The data set will be like that. If anything changes to your database, right, your database changes won't get reflected in these tables. Unless you kill the session already, then you recreate the tables, then the tables will take the source again and rerun the script again, and the data will be updated again. So that would be all. And then the execution wise, right, I see a lot of people are asking, CTE is the fastest and temporary table is the slowest. View wise, it acts the same as CTE, so there's no comparison in that sense lah. Okay, to write a CTE is this is how you write it. You just add a step. So usually we will write a select statement, right? Select blah 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 whatever not. Then all you need to do is just add another sentence of that with your CTE name, meaning the name that you want to call it as, then you write your code there. Then you will be able to call it. For example, I will left join, I will take everything from here. So example is I'm going to refer booking left join class a lot. Okay, I'm going to refer to this table a lot, say for example, and I'm going to just create a CTE for that, right? So that I can refer them. So I will just put, usually I will put a bracket for subquery. So I will just put with huge CTE, right? Example, as like that. Then I will select, how do we call that table? We will use the usual one, select something and treat the huge CTE as a table already. And in here, you'll be able to see, oh, okay. Things to remember, right? If you are creating a table, there cannot be a duplicate ID. So you cannot use this asterisk. You will have to name all the columns that you want to create the table with. So in here, for the example purpose, I will just put some example in. Yep, like that. So it will be, they will save it as the temporary table already, and you can keep referring them. If let's say it requires a lot of reference in one single query, you can do a lot of nested and sub one, as I said earlier on, right? So it will make your query easier to read. Yeah. And then this is how we create a with CTE, which is a more advanced one. In the next two questions, right, task, if we have time to go on even from task 6, but if not, we can start with task 5. You can attempt to use it, but if not, you still need some time to digest it. Just take it as a good to know thing. And maybe Faci, if you need to know, then you can let Faci to demonstrate it to you in the breakout room. Yeah, but make sure you understand the foundation. Yeah. Then create view is also the same. It's usually create view something as and statement, meaning that you will just need to replace the statement here as create view and then put the name view table as something, right? It's the same. And then for create temporary table, it's the same tool, just need to change the name to temporary table. I'm showing you all these things is because these are some of the more useful things that you will be using it when you are dealing with a lot of huge data sets and they involve a lot of joining and it's very confusing. So when these things happen, you can slowly sort them out one by one and then break it into smaller queries, etc. Yeah. Any questions? Why is join more efficient? Rachel, good question. So in the previous workshop, we covered how SQL engine will work, right? Basically, they actually have a parser, they have a query, parser, and optimizer, right? And then execution. So it's like a 4-step for the engine to run. So there are certain ways of optimizing the code by looking at the performance, the execution time, and the performance of it. So based on the experiment that people have been doing out there, they say that join is more effective than you use the where statement, where in statement. That's what has been recommended based on their experiment using the based on execution time and also the operation, the performance cost. Okay. Any other question? No. Okay. In the next task, it's really another level up, right? You will need to start designing them on how you want to approach this task, right? So this is the question. We will have only 15 minutes. Some of the tips that may help you to design your query, right? That I put it down is first step is really identify what kind of data do you need, and then identify the tables where the data sits, right? And then try to find out the relationship of the table, sort out the join statement first, right? Then once you sort it out, then slowly go back to the task that you need to complete and then get the table out. That's the simplest way of getting the query. And then once you get the answer right, then you can slowly look into how you can use the advanced query thing that I was talking about, subquery or the with as the CTE thing. Yeah. So these are some of the tips that I put it down. Spend our time to work on it, and then we come back to that later. Okay, 15 minutes. Maybe can we help to set that up?
Brianna, do you think we have enough time? You want to reduce it to 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think let's do 10 minutes. Then we will stop at task 5 lah. Yeah, we will stop at task 5. Sorry guys, we are running out of time. We will stop at task 5. And then later on for task 6, I welcome you all to do it. And if you all have the query or answer already, you can always go back to and can always PM at Slack. We will show you how to join Slack, right? Then we can discuss that there. So we will squeeze it into 10 minutes. So maybe.
Okay, start now. Lynn and Marsha, I'll start assigning you to the few rooms. So yeah.
Sorry guys, I had to kick you all out from the room. Ying, were you explaining something?
Yeah, we were about finished.
Oh,
But never
so
mind.
sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay, I hope Fassy has explained the questions, but let's go through it together again, okay? I know we are short of time because we are slightly running out of time. So sorry for that. I'll be pasting all sorts of the example of scripts inside the answer sheet together to send it over once everything is over lah. So you all have some reference and can go through different types of scripting to see the answer. Fassy's one, I think Bingen did a very good job on the script. I think Bingen, if you don't mind, I want to share your screen out to them also lah, the script. Okay, so let's go through the questions, right? The question is, company would want to increase the number of new members by increasing the class that the new members would like. So in this sense, they will need to understand the data first, right? So they actually ask the data analyst, which is us, to write a query to show that for each class, what are the mere booking rate or ratio looking like. But that's another set of questions which is slightly tougher. So I put the level a bit more down to go to one step before we go to the ratio, right? To count the number of distinct count for new members. Sorry, I think the question is a bit confused. It might be a bit confusing. I should have phrased it a bit better. So the unique count here is actually to count the number of members who actually made the booking, but I want the distinct one, right? So it means that if someone make multiple bookings, I only want to count one time because it's number of distinct count. Second one is the total number of booking that is made by meals, right? So this is the questions that we're going to work with, and following the task that we the steps that I said, right? We have to identify the data that we need. So the data that we need here is actually the distinct count of meal members, right? We can count in on anything, but we have to count based on the booking. So we know that booking is something that we are looking at. So we need a booking table. Then we need the number of bookings made by meal as well, right? And we have to group it by class here. So by class, that means that if you look at the class table, they are different class, but then the class can happen multiple times. So I would need to group the class, and I need to know the class name. So by booking ID is not enough because booking ID actually specify the class ID, which class ID can result in multiple duplicated class name. So then we know that if I want to segregate the class name, I need to group by class name, right? But if I want to group by class name, I will then have to left join my booking table with my class table on booking.class ID equals to class.class ID. Yeah. So if I left join it like that, okay, I'll do this. If I left join it like that, you will see that all the booking ID, they will have the class name here already, right? And then I will only want, because we are looking at meal one, so I will only want the meal booking. So booking made by meal. But then in here, I only have member ID, but I don't have the meal ID, right? There are a few ways of doing it. We will go with the simplest one, okay? So in this sense means that in the booking, I will need to join it with my member ID. So I need to inner join it with my member on member ID equals to booking.member ID, right? So if I join it here, I will see that there is booking. Oh, sorry. Sequence is wrong. Okay, then you will be seeing that the member ID is out, name is out, gender is out. You can always use subquery, but we are not using it. We go with the simplest one, okay? So now we are only looking at the meal one. So I will use the gender equals to M to filter out and only get the booking that is made by meal, right? So we already have the booking that is made by meal already, which all are just M, right? And then now we go back to looking at the questions. I want the class name, I want the unique count, I want the total number of booking, right? So I want the unique count of meal members, meaning that I want to count something, right? Count by what? We can count by member ID, right? Because I want the distinct one, so I need to put a distinct in front. Okay, and then that's the first one. S. Second one is I want the total number of booking, which is the total number of booking made by meals. So since we already filtered out, right, it's only meal one, I can safely just count the booking ID, right? As booking count. Okay, and we need to have a class name here. So we will have a class name, okay? Now, sometimes you will get a mistake, right? You just run it like that, and then they will have this thing called, oh, so I have to name it. Okay. Yeah, you see, the error message is the aggregator without that they are telling you that they are hinting you need to use group by. So what are the group by things that we need to use? We need to group by the class name because we are using aggregated number, which is count here. So then you will get the answer. Group by name, then you get the unit count, you get the booking count. Okay, there are a few ways that you can do it. Using subquery, we can easily just inner join, and then this inner join I can select or from member, but my where statement will go in here, right? Where I only filter out the member where the gender is equals to male, right? Then I need to have an alias member on M, right? Then you will get the same answer as well. A lot of ways to do it. To use CTE, you can actually do, for the time being, I'm going to copy and paste the answer that I have here. Okay, for the time being, to save some time, you can actually use with, right? You put down all the columns that you want to see. You can put less than this if you want it, right? Then you can join from booking, join with member. You don't have to join with attendance and class. That's not needed, right? Then select, you can straight away use the name and dot it and do the count. You see, then you can do the filter here. So this big one, right, is a huge table that I am defining, right? I'm compiling everything together. And then once I have that table in my mind already, I already know, then I can just straight away filter whatever that I want in the second query. Okay, that's an example of how you use a with. So to show you that not every database is supporting this, right? I will give an example. This is SQL v 8.0, right? If I change it to 5.7 and I run it, right, you will get an error in here where they say you have an error, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's because they don't support it, right? So unfortunately, we don't have much time. I will not continue on task 6, but this would be the most difficult one. You can try it on your own. I will be sending out the answer script and the answer to this thing out so that you can have a look, right? I will do the wrap up. Yeah, if there's no questions, then yes, I will be sending the script out, the answer script. I have an answer script here. There will be different types of script that you can write to get an answer. I will be sharing it out to all of you. Then you can follow it, and we also have a Slack channel to support you if you need some explanation. Okay, Sam, what's the question about foreign key? Okay, put down your question here, or else I will just wrap it up. Yeah. So to wrap up this, so sorry, we are running out of time. We have done combining with SQL 101. We have done basic query. In manipulation, we already know how to filter the data. Use where. Aggregation is in your cheat sheet. Data grouping, use group by, and you have the order by also for formatting. Right, formatting, there are a few more things that we did not touch, like limit. right? You limit the number of data that you want to show as your output. In case your data set is too huge and takes a long while to process, you can limit the data set that you want to see just to check and validate some of the numbers. Query with multiple tables, use join, conditional statements, use case, and some of the useful functions that you can use as you progress, right? We do it step by step, meaning that conquer the statements, the basic syntax, and how to get to the right answer first. Then we will look at optimizing your code and make your code more readable by using CTE, and readable and usable by using CTE, temporary tables, and view. Yeah, there are a lot more things that we did not touch here, which table creation is one of it, right? Which we touch a bit here and there. Updating the tables, deleting the tables, dropping the tables, all these things we did not touch. If you are interested in those, I honestly think there are a lot of resources out there. You can always go out and Google it, just Google it, and then there is like a w3source.school, which is specified for SQL. All sorts of syntax are in there. You can just follow through the practice in there. Yeah. And what's next? If you want to really be advanced in this and be a SQL pro, you can always look up the resources online. If in your daily work you don't have the opportunity to play with database and all, right? Some of the link I have put it down here, you can find it in the slides. Do use it. Firstly, if you have any useful link, you can paste it into the chat box, and maybe later on I will modify this slide and put more links. So these are the one that I find it useful. Lead code is the one that is given by Maisie. I think it's quite useful. If you want to test out if you are a pro in SQL, these are 25 questions that you can exercise and practice, and I would say it's quite tough. And HackerRank is one of it as well. So last one is I have heard a lot of discussion on how do we actually make our query better on etc. Right? So we did a bit of research, and based on my own experience, these are the ones that these are the one that has been generally advised by people, right? The first one is avoid using subquery or nested query, like what we do, right? Some people really, like I do really long nested query, and I do use subquery a lot, especially the where column name in something, because I was lazy to write inner join, but actually inner join works better apparently. Avoid select everything unless necessary, but I usually still is very, I'm quite tending to select as strict because I will need to do a lot of data discovery, so that's how I do the data discovery. But if you already know specifically what column you want to use, put it down into the select column, and that would save a lot of processing query, especially when your data set has like over 100 columns. Yeah. Filter the date by using this kind of format, like date, month, year, and then put the time in instead of using year date. So when you're using the filter date, where, if you are using some of the built-in function, it will take a longer while, even though the column has been indexed, right? So the faster way, this is by my own experience, it's very fast, is you use this kind of format instead of use year, month, or day. Fourth one is limit your results. Last one is if you can, don't use this thing, use group by. But if you cannot, that's fine, right? These are just these are just some tips only. Last one is avoid using function in the predicates. Like what I say, the where one, don't use any functions, right? Like for example, if you use this thing, this is, if you remember, it's a wildcard, right? It will kind of make the processing time long, right? And here, avoid using or and not. That one is for your predicate, right? Use in instead. These are all interchangeable. So, like I said, we go step by step. These are just for your knowledge, right? As you progress, you can start practicing this. But if not, then you can focus on getting the query right and getting to the right answer first. The last one is use where instead of having. This is when the scenario is allowed. If you recall what we learned about, where and having actually have different functionality and use it different ways, right? But if you can use where to avoid using having, then use where, because where is faster than having, right? Use inner join instead of where. That's it in the first one. The last one is avoid wildcard character at the beginning of a like clause pattern like this one, right? So this is some of the tips that you can refer to in the future, not now. Yeah, just take it as a brief of like the. Okay, let me see the questions. Okay, so for the SEM one, we have recording. We will share it out to all of you later on. And you have a question about foreign key. I can't get it. What's the difference between secondary key and foreign key, and why you didn't declare in the SQL code? Okay, so we should define foreign key, right? You're right. But then because this exercise is solely to focus on getting the task out and then making sure you can query it properly. The database that I set up is not based on the best practice. Yeah, I'm just setting up for the sake of the workshop, so I did not declare it. The difference between secondary key and foreign key, I'm not very sure, to be honest, but I think it's just different naming. So secondary key and foreign key for everyone purposes here, right, is we have a key called primary key, which is the unique key, right? And then as we see at the transaction table and the user table, there's this thing called secondary key, which it can be called as a foreign key as well, which means that it's a key that used to identify another primary key or identify some of the unique record in another table. That's the foreign key or the secondary key that I meant here. Okay. I hope that answered your questions. Let's see if you have any question, any response to that foreign key and secondary key, do put it out there also. So I think I will end it here. I hand it to you, Suyong. Thanks all, really thank you for staying with us. And if you have anything to ask, you can stay back later. And I know, Rachel, you want to know the reality one, right? I think I will probably show you later at the end of the sessions. Let's wrap up this so that the one that need to go can go, right? Then the one that want to know can stay back. Yeah. So, Suyong, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Brianna. Hi, everyone. Hopefully that everyone have a good sessions today. So I think that like what Brianna mentioned, say, let's see, knowing that some of you have a schedule later. So do engage with Brianna via her LinkedIn page. I think that there are lots that we can take away today. So, and then the next one that Brianna can move to the next slide. Yes. So we do have a feedback form. Please do scan the feedback form using QR code here. I hope that everyone can submit the form today. So just do it right now. It's very fast. It's just a very short session where we would like to hear your feedback and also know that what kind of topics or what kind of context that in terms of the workshop that you would like us to arrange in the near future. I think that is very essential. And also, I think that we put in all the speaker and also facilitator LinkedIn page. Do feel free to actually join them and also connect with them. So last but not least, thank